NBA games last night were boycotted over the shooting of Jacob Blake, and meetings about what to do with the remainder of the season will continue this morning in just a couple minutes. One anonymous player said the season was in jeopardy, but apparently that may not be what the majority want. Joining us now, Yahoo Sports senior NBA insider and TNT sideline reporter Chris Haynes, who is live inside the bubble. Chris, we appreciate your time. I know you're busy. What is the latest you're hearing?
Well, obviously, we know about the meeting that the players are going to have. This is the second meeting that they're going to have this morning, which will be 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is in about 12 minutes. And so after this meeting, we should have a firm grasp on what the players plan to do moving forward. I think most people believe, I think it's highly likely that the games will be postponed today or boycotted, I should say, today. And I think we'll have a firm grasp on what they're going to do after the conclusion of this meeting this morning.
Chris, do you have just a personal gut feeling after all you heard, all you saw last night, all the great work that you did, and then you slept on it? Do you have a gut feeling on season or no season?
Yeah, I think, obviously I reported last night that the Lakers and Clippers were the two teams that voted to cancel the remainder of the postseason. I will say this, that, emotions were high. There was a lot of frustration during that meeting. That happens when you have a big player base and difference of opinions going on. But I think when it's all said and done, the emotions kind of go away. I would be very surprised, me personally, I'd be very surprised if the season was canceled. I know the majority of players want to finish the season out. And, I was kind of surprised that, hear about LeBron James and Kawhi Leonard, had their stance and saying, hey, think it's best that we go home from here. Because LeBron, that was a stance that he hasn't taken, up until this point. And, I was surprised to find out he had that position. But again, frustration was high last night. Emotions were raw. So I could understand if when guys had the opportunity to sleep on it, that they probably come back with a different position this morning in the meeting.
It's being reported that LeBron wants owners to take more ownership in this, and they want them to use their influence, and they want them to use their connects to get this done. So what assurances can Adam Silver and some of the owners give these players that they're going to work as diligently as the players are to try to bring about change in these communities?
Well, the ownership group, a lot of them, I can't write them off the top of my head, but a lot of them have, donated money into, social justice causes to try to stem the systemic racism that's been going on in this country forever. And so those things have been taking place. And so I'm not exactly sure of what in particular LeBron or any other player is asking for when it comes to ownership. I know that, I know it was brought up about, where is Adam Silver? Why isn't he here, here in the front lines with us? So, those things did come up. And again, there was players were all over the place. It was something that happened, starting with the Milwaukee Bucks, obviously. You guys touched on it. I was listening. They caught everybody off by surprise. The union would have liked to have put out a joint statement saying that all teams were going to, boycott the game. And I think Milwaukee Bucks, and particularly George Hill, kind of led the charge there and spearheaded them into getting that boycott on and kind of just shocking everybody, which led to a ripple effect where, it was impossible for the other two teams to play that day. And so there was a lot talked about that. It was a point that Patrick Beverley, kind of called out leadership, talking about the lack of transparency, and there's guys frustrated that, players not on the same page. So, their emotions were high, and that's why I think it's very productive that they get a second meeting in here, which they're going to do, to kind of clear the air, let guys sleep on it, and hopefully they can come back and make a sound decision.
So, Chris, if the Bucks had opted to go ahead and suck it up and play yesterday against Orlando, what was the grand plan? What was the master plan with CP3 and LeBron at the head of it to have a unified front? Were they planning to boycott the next day's games?
That I don't know, Skip, but that's where the frustration lies.
Yeah.
That's why Patrick Beverly kind of called out leadership, asking like, what were we going to do?
Mm-hmm.
What was the plan? If the Bucks didn't do that, what was the message? Because nobody was informed. And leading up to it, and I wrote that morning that there was a meeting the night before, and players that got together, and Chris Paul was there, Andre Iguodala was there, and players were really going over the logistics of what it's going to look like if we boycott. So it got real, and players were kind of using that meeting as a venting session as well. Players are traumatized; they're hurt. Depression is real, and a lot of them are not getting help. A lot of them, don't trust the psychologists that are here on campus. They can go onto an app and set up an appointment, but for confidentiality purposes, a lot of them are not doing that. And so there's a lot going on right now. And that I think if the Bucks would have played, I think the rest of the games would have been played yesterday. And I think there's definitely people that were frustrated with the Bucks and how they handled it, but also there's players frustrated with leadership, saying, okay, what was the plan if the Bucks didn't do that? Why weren't we informed?
But let me ask you this, hypothetically, if the Clippers and Lakers walk, what happens?
Shannon, I don't see a scenario of where the Clippers and Lakers will walk. It's still like, it's not like, it doesn't work that way in any voting system where if two teams don't want to do something or two parties don't want to do something, that the whole league shuts down. That's just the voting is in favor of the players who want to play or the teams who want to play. It's more of them than there is the Lakers and Clippers. So I don't see a scenario where the Clippers and Lakers would just walk. Those just happen to be the two teams that voted no. And then, just let me make this clear. Just because those two teams voted no, not everybody on the Lakers and Clippers want to go home right now. It's just a majority of players of Lakers and Clippers. As of last night, let's keep that in mind. Last night with the emotions raw, everything going on, so it can definitely be a different outcome this morning.